use fruity spray in the bathroom, it just kind of becomes citrus.
Hey, internets, it's Jake.
Welcome to MTD, hashtag citrus. Anyway.
Hey, internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Welcome to Paradise, Michigan. Welcome to Paradise Academy, our Season 2, Episode 24. This is Back to the Lab. A quick note, I'm noticing that the bit rate's tanking a little bit, so it might be a little glitchy. You might have to refresh. It looks like it's leveling out a little bit. I don't know what's going on with my ISP. We lost internet for hours yesterday, and now this thing is happening. I'm whatever I can do to blame it on somebody else and not my own computer, right? So tonight we are without M. So the part of Jessica / Anne will be played either by me or by this stunning picture of Jessica's high school picture, aka Blair. And Chad's running a little bit late, but should be joining us shortly. That just means we'll have to hold off on his scenes a little bit potentially.
He has a real life anniversary,
yeah.
Right? Like how selfish.
Yeah. I'm definitely not in any way condemning him for not being here on time.
Jesus.
But I am going to keep the intro a little abbreviated, the intro announcements. Most of y'all have heard my announcements. You know about the merch, you know about the domain pops, you know what keywords to type in, commands, the schedule, all that stuff. I will say, though, however, for this particular episode, when we give the audience and content warnings, of course, we're dealing with players that are playing as kids and teens in a fictitious 1985 high school setting. Our storylines will have, you'll hear adult language, you'll hear graphic depictions of body horror and violence, things like that. You may hear references to drug and alcohol and other substance use and abuse, bullying, divorce. This episode in particular, there's a good chance that there may be some verbal and or physical, what would be categorized as abuse. Nothing prolonged, but just a heads up that adults in authority positions are abusing those under them. So if that's something you're not into, please take care of yourself. Head on somewhere else. Come back later. Check in on when you feel you're up to it. The last thing I want to mention before we get into the game proper is, because I will never not do this, is do a mental health check-in. I'm actually wearing my "You Are Enough" shirt tonight. The world is a better place with you in it. You might be struggling, or you might know somebody who's struggling for any number of reasons. We want it to be as easy as possible for you to find the help that you need. In order to do so, all you got to do is type !help. That's going to bring up a couple of URLs, findahelpline.com, or you can check out the growing list of resources at takethis.org. We encourage you to check out those websites, bookmark them, save them for yourself, save them for a friend, and remember, you matter. With that, we're going to dive right into our Paradise, Michigan, Paradise Academy setting. And I'm going to do sort of a narrative recap that's going to roll into our first scene. And then I will explain, as the players already know, we're doing just a little bit of a time jump. Fun statistic, I went and did the math. The last 24-hour period for you kids lasted 10 sessions, which is approximately 20 to 25 hours of gameplay. So almost we could have real-time 24'd this. We just needed Kiefer Sutherland. And also, speaking of real-time, The time from the beginning of that day until the end of that day was 101 days in the real world for us. Between, with all the sessions and everything. So, fun facts. Anyway, without further ado, and then I further ado'd. Hold on.
Those further ado sneak up on you, man.
Yeah. Getting old sucks.
Hey, listen. All right. The party at the Stapler House descended into a nightmarish disaster of mythic proportions. Paradise was already strange, but tonight it transformed into a bizarre tableau, as if Universal Pictures' Monster Marathon had burst forth into a chaotic life right in Billy's basement and backyard. It was a bewildering, fantastical assembly. Who, in their right mind, thought it was wise for a family of werewolves to host a gathering teeming with vampires, swamp monsters, mummies, medusas, invisible entities, and a host of other unspeakable creatures? Well, that night took a darker turn when Laz, in a moment of terrifying unpredictability, unleashed a new wild power, resulting in the death of a vampire. Now, this wasn't just any vampire. It was one of the esteemed guests of honor, the father of the creepy and enigmatic Van Houten twins. The atmosphere grew even more tense and fearful when it became clear that Laz's destructive energy blast had also gravely injured Rosie, who was inexplicably failing to heal. The chaotic scene was soon dominated by the arrival of a military officer, who seemed to take command with a stern authority. Though even he was subject to the whims of a higher power, that power came in the form of Ashley Raven, who descended from the heavens in a sleek, ominous black helicopter. Moments after her arrival and assessment of the situation, unmarked ambulance vans appeared to whisk away Rosie, Laz, and the unfortunate dead vampire to the clandestine Nexus Project labs, their fates unknown. She ordered Lieutenant Commander Adkins to be there in the morning. As if the situation couldn't get any stranger, the sky opened up, releasing a peculiar purple rain that defied all logic. The drops, some moving with a life of their own, appeared to absorb into the skin of some of the children, leaving the monstrous guests seemingly unaffected. In the midst of this surreal chaos, Oak and Billy made a hurried decision to seek refuge at Oak's house, wherever that may be. Meanwhile, the undercurrents of hidden communication were revealed as TJ was discovered to be in a secret contact with Jessica through mirrors, hinting at a possible romantic connection. The revelation of the military officer being TJ's father added another layer of complexity, especially since the man was an overbearing and unpleasant figure. Basically, he's a dick. Coop, standing amidst the confusion, was confronted by a spectral vision of Persephone, who seemed determined to haunt him. Frustrated and seeking escape, he spotted Anne and made a desperate dash toward her. Without hesitation, Anne grabbed his hand, and together they plunged into the dark, purple rainstorm, fleeing the nightmare behind them. Coop, as you two run, driven by adrenaline and an undefined sense of purpose, with no plan but a vague aim toward Anne/Jessica's trailer at the Starlight Mobile Park, your heart thunders in your chest, breath comes in ragged gasps, and the relentless purple rain drenches you to the bone, soaking through your clothes, matting your hair to your heads, and making your skin prickle with an eerie, almost electric sensation. Just as you seem to be making progress, putting the house distantly behind you, the night is split open by a blinding flash of white light and a deafening crash of thunder. Coop, you are violently thrown into the muddy ground. The impact wrenches your hand from Anne's grasp. Dazed, your ears ringing and vision blurred, you struggle to regain your senses. As your vision clears, a chilling realization strikes you. You are alone. The darkness around you is empty. Anne has vanished into the storm, leaving you drenched, disoriented, and desperately searching the shadows for any sign of her.
There's no steaming ash pile or anything like that nearby.
As you look
She's
around,
melting.
the only real illumination you can see is in the intermittent flashes of lightning. And looking around, it's a little difficult because it's dark. You're only seeing through these flashes of lightning and your vision is blurry. Remind me again, does Coop wear glasses?
Nope.
Okay. So you don't have wet glasses to tend with. But nonetheless, as you look around, you see absolutely no signs of Jessica, Anne, or either.
I mean, Coop doesn't see her, but he's not going to believe that she just disappeared. That would be crazy. So he's gonna call out a bit and kind of look near the side of the road by the tree lines and stuff. Like, Anne? We all know it's Anne, right? No big secret anymore.
I think pretty much everybody knows it's Anne, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Anne, where did you go?
Your
And
voice,
it's wet and I'm cold and alone.
your voice is drowned out in the loud pounding of the rain, the crashes of thunder. It's like your voice leaves your mouth and doesn't go anywhere. There's no answer. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna reach out for Anne with my mind, like I do.
Ooh, smart.
So, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to say, first off, using just your sort of innate ability to connect with people, there's no connection. We are reminded that actually, we have you roll already?
Yes, I rolled.
And I forget what the number was.
Couldn't tell you, buddy.
I think it was
You
a
have to go
60, actually.
back and watch the VOD.
I'm very confident
Nope.
it was a 60.
Oh,
Pretty sure it was like a
nope, it was an 80.
43.
I highlighted it. It was 80.
80.
Ah,
I highlighted it in
I
blue,
remember it being a high number.
and I said, because this is one I'm going to have to think about.
No.
No,
Craig remembered too.
he did not think about it once. He completely forgot.
Morgan Freeman voice.
So this is going to change things just a little bit.
yeah. Well, you're calling out for Jessica, and she doesn't answer because you die.
That's not that bad.
You
Uh,
sprout a third arm out of
80
your
is
chest.
definitely in the realm of not good things, but it's not terribly rotten, horrible, not good things. So, as I said, initially, with your just sort of your innate ability, you don't sense anything from Anne. Would you like to push your power?
No.
Okay. I would like a brains check from you, and I'm going to say that the DC is going to be a little higher because of the darkness. What is your...
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy. This is my D4, so you know.
I'm going to tell you beforehand, before you roll, and consider the use of your 34 domain pops. This is a pass or fail.
I'm not spending a bunch of money just to pass. That's bananas.
You're
Like,
letting
no.
things take it. I admire that.
So that's a 2.
Coop, describe for us how you are going about trying to find Anne in the dark, in the rain, your skin tingling from this purple rain. That's literally, there's no part of you that's dry.
There's not really any method to it. It's just Coop going from like bush to bush or whatever on the roadside, hoping to find like, unconscious Anne or something on the dirt in the ditch or something.
You hadn't even gotten to a road at this point yet. You were sort of cutting across through the field, sort of beelining toward where Anne's / Jessica's trailer was. You're kind of in this field between. You probably at one point crossed over a low fence through one set of property to another, and you're in this grassy field that's maybe from the one fence to the next fence that would lead towards the roadside, probably 150 feet across. And with that too, as you are moving across the field, you feel yourself your feet sort of slip out from underneath you, and you begin to slide downward. And after about 10 or 12 feet, you come to a halt. And in the next flash of lightning, you realize you didn't just slide down a hill. As you look around, you seem to be in the midst of an indentation that's about 15 feet deep with sloped, muddy, grassy sides. And you feel yourself slipping further, inches at a time. In the next flash of lightning, you realize water is pooling at your feet, and your feet are slipping under.
Oh, no.
You, with your 80 on the roll table, whoops. I bumped a button and somehow cleared the entire table. It jumped. My gosh. Literally the whole table just disappeared. I got it. You have rolled sinkhole.
Oh my god.
A sinkhole opens up nearby, slowly growing and pulling everything into its depths. And with your 2, Coop, you have slipped into the sinkhole. You are alone in the middle of a field, in the middle of a thunderstorm, in the middle of the night, and nobody can hear you scream.
Yep. Peace out. See you guys next week.
God. Oh my god. Well, and is it like filling with water, Jacob?
It's a combination of the bottom is beginning to fill with water, but the water level is not rising terribly high.
Okay.
So much
It's
as
fine.
it is that,
like if it rises, then that means that Coop just kind of rises with it.
but it's not, because the water and Coop are slipping down amidst everything. We see in this sort of dimly lit 80s style overhead shot as the camera rises higher and higher, and the rain is falling, and we hear the thunder. Coop's desperate cries become more and more faint, and after a moment, all we see is the empty sinkhole with no sign of Coop. That is a perfect place to let in our time ward. Reset everything. Where did he go?
It's tough, man. Hey, while Jake is doing this, check us out on teespring.com. At teespring.com, you can look for all different kinds of merch, like the one I'm wearing, the one Jeremy is wearing, the one Jake is wearing, and so many more. You can get them on coffee mugs, tank tops, t-shirts, hoodies, and all kinds of other great stuff. Teespring.com. Follow the link, or just search Mini Terrain Domain.
You can't do that though.
You can do it on the Googles, and then eventually you'll get there.
So, Chad, to bring you up to speed real quick, we had a recap. Coop and Ann were running. Ann disappeared. Coop just fell into a sinkhole and is gone.
Chad is still not on the overlay.
Yeah. As adorable as young Chad is, can we get the adorable old Chad?
There
Old
he
Chad?
is.
Old Chad?
I mean, by comparison,
In comparison,
Older.
yes, there he is.
he's got gray in his beard. I can call him old.
He's wisdom. He's got wisdom.
Exactly.
Uh,
Wisdom whiskers.
Happy anniversary.
Yay.
Yeah, happy anniversary. I don't know if he can even hear us.
Chad can't hear us.
No,
No, I
it doesn't
can.
seem
I
like-
can.
no,
I don't know if you guys can hear me. My
his
internet
poker
is,
face.
We
Having-
can.
is
There he
like
is.
trash right now. So
so,
okay.
Coop has vanished. I would like to know, the timing could not have been more perfect, because I asked the players sort of offline, but Oak basically said that, hey, Billy's house is kind of the heat is on. Let's go to my house.
Heat is on.
Even though you're not entirely sure where your house is. You don't even really remember in sort of the aftermath of everything that happened at the Stapler party. You headed toward your house by instinct. Not entirely sure where you were going. Nothing was really filling your memories. You still had the memory of living with Hines, sort of nestled in alongside with, in the first iteration back home, your family, who in this iteration are deceased in a car accident. You leave from Billy's house and you begin moving across town. And it's actually when you get downtown towards where Wayne's Old Town Tavern is, that you find yourself standing before a green door with a brass handle that is on the back side of Wayne's. Going through this, you are able to go through it because as you reach for around your neck, and again instinctively, Oak, you find a key. It unlocks the door and leads to an apartment upstairs, up above Wayne's Tavern. And you and Billy pretty much crash out from exhaustion. In the morning, having neither of you really remembering falling asleep, you stumbled into a bedroom and must have sleepily thrown a sleeping bag at Billy. But you are awakened, both of you, by the scent of bacon frying, eggs cooking. You can hear the sounds from the other room of somebody shuffling around in the kitchen making breakfast. What would the two of you do as you both awaken to this? Ted, you are muted.
I imagine Billy is confused, at this, didn't really know that, was a cook, 'cause we were the only two when we got here last night, and who else could it be? So I guess kind of like rub the sleep out of my eyes and go investigate.
Yeah, I think that Oak instinctively is like his brain is trying to put two and two together. He looks over sleepily at the sleeping bag on the floor, sees Billy. He's like, all right, cool. There's one body that I recognize. That's fine. But if he's here, where's the smell of the bacon coming from? And who's making the bacon? Because I'm not. And he'll kind of groggily get up. He has his I think he's got some sort of like Ghostbusters pajamas on.
Tell us
And
real quick, Oak,
yeah.
what does this room look like? You picture a room that is
Mhm.
in a modest sized apartment, but it is your room. It is evident that this is your room, and it is 100% your room. What does your room look like?
As opposed to the like galley closet that was the room when I was staying with Hines, I think it's still like a modestly sized, like smaller sized bedroom, but it actually allows Oak to like have things, posters pinned up on the walls. The corkboard of Conspiracy is most definitely still there, lined with massive amounts of pins and string to multiple different Polaroid pictures. But outside of that, he now has a place for his camera. He now has a place for the video camera. Like things that he would have had to store in the footlocker and not have out and about, he now has a little bit more space to do so. There are numerous 1980s posters because he's a huge cinephile, and like there's movies everywhere. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future. There's definitely numerous like 70s and 60s Doctor Who posters, things like that, that he's like acquired from his family or from other things. But outside of that, everything's kind of modest. You see like there's a small desk with the few like piles of like the black and white composition notebooks, and like thoroughly organized and OCD'd across this table.
And there's no doubt in your mind that this is your room. You remember as you're looking around, you're like, yeah, I remember putting those there, placing this here. It's like, it's not a torrent of memories. It's not of any kind of rush. It seems to be trickling in. You know that this is your home. You know that you spent, after your parents' death, you spent a brief period of time in a foster home as a ward of the state. And then a foster family took you in. And you know that they make their home in a modest apartment above Wayne's Old Time Tavern.
Does he also remember living with Hines?
Yes.
So would this be like a third layer of memories for Oak?
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers. Oak is an onion.
The onion is not peeling, it's just forming.
And
it's forming. We're getting into Vidalia size.
Reverse onion.
Yeah, something I wanted to point out, because I was thinking about this after Oak stayed behind and talked to Dr. K and realized that his decision caused Dr. K and Hines to fade away. It is important for all of you to know that you all also remember Hines and Dr. K.
Okay.
But
So
we don't know that they've disappeared necessarily.
No, unless Oak tells anybody,
Right.
Nobody knows that they've vanished. So I would say at best, Billy, you don't even know where it is you guys are. You would have expected if you stayed with Oak that you would have gone to stay with Hines at the Sunken Galley, as far as you know. So what are you boys doing?
I think
I got up and went to the kitchen. So who's in the kitchen?
yeah, I'm heading that way sleepily. Yeah.
I was expecting it to be Oak.
Oh, okay. So as you kind of as you open the door, You see that this door, there's no hallway. It opens into sort of an open concept apartment. Like, you can see the living room, the front door. You can see there's a couple other doors that lead to a bathroom and another bedroom. You see that there is an area that has, closest to the kitchen, that has a dining room table set up, one of those with a formica top and the almost like a diner table. It has the they're this sort of golden yellow colored vinyl seats around it with the chromed silver legs and more diner type furniture. There's a half counter that separates the space between that and the kitchen. So as you come out, Billy, you're sort of in the middle of those areas, and you can see that where this half counter is, there's also cupboards above it. So you can see somebody with their back turned, wearing a white terry cloth robe, is flipping some bacon out of a pan onto a paper towel lined platter. And you can see that the table between you and them is laden with stacks of pancakes, French toast. There's a carafe of orange juice. There's a pot of coffee. There's peanut butter, jelly, and butter laid out. The diner style, a lot of restaurant type stuff in this place.
The syrup
of
thingies?
syrup, yeah, the little syrup thing.
The little syrup carafe.
I love it. I love it.
And you can see the person tinkering around in the kitchen. You can only see them from like the hips up to mid chest, and as they turn, placing a couple dishes in the sink, you see, at least you can tell that it's a man. What do you do from that point?
So I imagine, like, I shake my head, rub my eyes a little bit to try and, see if I'm just seeing things, because, like, I was probably, like, as I step in, I'm about to say, hey, Oak. But, like, I cut myself before the sound comes out, because that's clearly not Oak.
So you don't say anything to him?
So, like, I imagine there's like a stutter sound that comes out as he's trying to speak, but it's not, it's nonsense, because he's tired. We had a very, very long day. There's a lot going on, and this is yet again something new.
I imagine this is about the time, Oak, that you've sort of crawled your way out of bed and bleary-eyed make your way into the room, kind of standing. You walk out into the room right behind Billy.
Oh man. What's that? Oh, what's that smell? Oh man. It smells good. Hey Billy, are you making stuff?
No, I thought that was you making stuff.
Oh,
This is your place, right?
well, yeah. I had the key for it.
Oh, good. You boys are awake. Have a seat. I'm bringing the bacon out in just a moment.
When Oak sees this gentleman,
You haven't seen them yet. You just see them sort of.
I just hear them.
You hear them, but you see sort of between the counter and the cupboards.
So as I'm like slowly moving my way to the diner, I think I'm gonna whisper to Billy.
Okay. Nothing to worry about yet, right? We're in a clearly in a safe space because I had a key for this thing, so I've got to know who this is, right? But like, let's just be on our guard, because I mean, up here is all foggy right now, and things are weird, and there's memories that I'm having and not having. Please don't tell me that what Laz did triggered another iteration. God, I really hope not. Really hope not.
I honestly don't know.
You boys came in kind of late. Sounded like that party at your house, William, might have been quite the fete. And the person walks around the side, and you see under their white terry cloth robe, you see the bright red pajamas that Algernon is wearing. As he brings a platter full of bacon and places it on the table. Well, don't let your eyes just wander over the feast before you. It's not every morning that I prepare such a luxurious breakfast, but here you go.
Immediate scoot back, like.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he loaded onto the spaceship the last time we saw him?
Moon.
So the last time you all saw him in the previous iteration, he took Dr. K forcibly in a spaceship and left Earth. The last time we, the audience, saw him was in, I believe, the very opening of this season, when he was seen abducting one of the girls who was missing.
So, I thought you went to space.
I wish I did have aspirations for space travel when I was younger. Let me tell you, that movie Space Camp, if we had that thing when I was your age, I'd be signing up in a jivvy.
I'll give a shifty eye over to Oak.
Don't know, man. I don't know. I know you're looking at me for answers. I don't.
Oak, make a brains check. This is a tiered success, not a pass-fail.
Great, cool.
Yeah,
Because
Jesus.
I'm terrified.
Tamiko, I'm sorry. I just saw the side chat.
All right. That's thank God that's an 18 on the die, so we'll take it.
The memories, now that you see him, the memories start to flow in a little bit more, filling in the spaces, the gaps. And you do remember this man after your parents' death and at your time at the foster place in Traverse City, that this man and a woman, his wife, came to take care of you, and that they've been taking care of you for what has it been, 2 years now? I don't remember. A year since your family's passing.
So it would have been.
I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 years.
2 years.
Regardless, you were only in the foster home for about 6 months. So it's been 6 months to a year and a half, depending on our timeline. You've been with this family for quite a while. You remember the woman, a blonde woman, and as you glance around the apartment, you start to see the pictures. There's pictures of you and this woman and the man you know to be Algernon. Pictures that are taken, they almost look like the kind of pictures you would find in a picture frame when you buy it.
So
there's
like
a picture,
the stock Hallmark, the stock Hallmark.
but they're definitely
family
the
photos.
pictures of the three of you. But you're wearing what looks like your modeling clothes from J. Crew on a timber bridge in a park that you have no idea where it is. You're in front, sitting casually in front of what is obviously a faux fireplace. You're in front of a backdrop that is a mountain, and you're all wearing like skiing clothes, and Algernon's holding a set of skis, has a pair of goggles on and a big old grin on his face, and you're smiling right along with them. But as you're looking at these pictures, you realize the woman looks familiar. With that 18, I'm going to tell you who it is. The last time you saw her was a very long time ago. Both in terms of the iterations and in terms of, well, it was 100 years ago. This is Ingrid, who was one of the survivors of the wreck of the Evangeline. Nobody, I believe, spoke to her. But in this current situation, as these new memories come in, your foster parents are Algernon and Ingrid.
Ooh. And then so
Miller, by the way.
For the sake of things, those memories, are they good memories, or am I definitely getting still like the mixed signal vibes from Algernon?
It's weird because every memory you have is of your time with your foster parents. Every memory you think on seems to be a happy memory. But you also have memories of the Algernon who was antagonistic from the first iteration.
Okay.
Does he actually have memories of the events in those pictures?
With that 18, you remember, Oak, that all of those pictures were taken on the same day. You remember your foster father coming home extremely happy that he had won a raffle that was to go to Traverse City. It was a full 3-hour fully covered photo shoot at the JCPenney photo studio in Traverse City, which meant that in those 3 hours you could have as many costume changes and backdrops and 5x7s, 8x10s, and wallets. It was quite the prize package.
So I think even though not cause suspicion, even though there's suspicion happening in Oak's brain currently, the memory of Algernon as foster parent is starting to set in a little bit. And he'll, instead of calling him I think he calls him Al instead of Algernon, right? And so he's hearing it in his head for a minute. And he's like, that doesn't sound right, but that's my memory. That's what I have. And he goes, thanks for breakfast, Al. That's real nice of you. Hey, how long have we lived here for? I mean, this place?
Well, as you say that, when you call him Al, what happens next is a memory you have. It's every time he does this, and every time he chuckles to himself as he subtly just barely below his breath says, "You can call me out," as he starts humming the Paul Simon
Be your
song.
bodyguard.
And he says, "Oh, well, if you remember, Ingrid and I have been here since, well, it was late 79, early 80 that we moved here, and it was just such the perfect place that we stayed here as long as we could. We had no intentions of going anywhere else. Why would we? We're literally in the heart of downtown. And then the opportunity to bring you into our family came along. And you just fit so wonderfully, there was no reason to move anywhere. So we've been here the whole time."
Okay. In that moment, I think Oak kind of hesitantly takes his seat back and sits down and looks at the spread before him, and then looks to Billy again hesitantly, like, okay.
Billy will say, "Well, thank you for breakfast, sir. It's very much appreciated." He'll start, ladling up a plate, going to town because
No sense in wasting it. Yeah,
As-
agreed. Oak and him will probably start snarfing on some food.
You're not gonna do the '80s thing where you grab like one piece of dry toast and be like, "I gotta go, I'm running late."
Right?
The 80s
No.
thing where like you get the Pop
Don't
Tart
need
pops out of
money.
the Pop Tart
I
pops out of the
imagine-
toaster and you grab it on the way out, burning your fingers. You're like, "Oh, yeah,
Mom, I gotta go.
I don't know what all things we ate last night, but given the situation, given everything, I have no idea what shit's gonna go down. So he needs as many calories as he can get.
Everything is delicious. It is a hearty breakfast. Say what you will about Algernon, but apparently the man can cook. As you are indulging in this lavish breakfast, and Algernon sort of sits there, he kind of flips open the Saturday morning paper and is reading. He has a cup of coffee, and he just every once in a while reaches over and grabs a piece of bacon. After a few moments, you hear a loud snap sound coming from the kitchen. And Algernon immediately sits up and he goes, "Did you hear that, boys?" And he looks right at you, Oak, and he goes, "Got another one. Don't come out and look. I don't want to spoil your breakfast." And he heads into the kitchen, and you hear as he kind of shifts something around, and you hear, "Yep. The only downside to this place is the rats." And he kind of peeks up over the edge of the counter and he just goes, "I hate rats." And with that, we're going to change scenes.
Oh my god. Oh my god. TJ Adkins. Speaking of breakfast, this fine Saturday morning, what we actually see is the sunlight streaming through through the windows into a breakfast nook off from a very large kitchen. This is the 1980s, so having, as I remember, at least from my experience, going to a house that had a kitchen big enough to have a full-size marble-topped island in the middle, that had its own sink, that was like luxury. It's still kind of fancy if you ask me. You see marble countertops. Of course, everything is all of the cupboards are in oak with panes of glass so you can see what's inside them. We realize through the scene out the breakfast nook window, which is
looking out across some houses that are a bit larger than this house, but the vantage point tells us that this house is on Stone Hill, probably in the same neighborhood as the Eccles and the Gunnarsons, and seated at the table in the breakfast nook, looking very disheveled, pouring a bowl of Lucky Charms and drinking a black coffee, is Carson. This is the scene you come into as you enter the house from outside. TJ, where have you been so early in the morning? And describe your entrance into this kitchen and what you say and do when you see Carson.
Well, I'm coming in, and I'm coming in from outside. It's like early morning, dressed in workout clothes. I had just been on a forced run, encouraged by my father, pretty mandatory. And I come in, and I see Carson sitting, and I walk over to him, and I just like embrace him with like this very upset hug, and I tell him I'm so sorry. I lost control again, and I'm so glad that you're not gone. I thought you were gonna leave.
Okay. I haven't even had my coffee. And he kind of takes the hug, but then he kind of loosely kind of pushes you away a little bit. But he does let one hand sort of linger on your shoulder for a moment and just kind of gives you a little reassuring squeeze. I'm not going anywhere, TJ. It's fine. You can't help it. You're and he kind of looks around before he says it to make sure nobody else is there to hear it. You're all but indoctrinated by your dad's military protocol.
Well, I heard you say that you were done, and you started talking about Billy, and I know that's where you came from.
Listen,
I don't want you to leave.
I'm not going anywhere. I mean, where am I going to go? Look, I know I mentioned Billy, and it's weird, given what happened. As much as I try to remind myself how much I hate him and his friends for what they did, I practically raised the kid. Seeing him again, it's just, I was concerned, and I know how I just didn't want to be the cause of anything happening to him. And then for a second, he kind of looks away, and he looks back at you, and he says, at least I don't want anything to happen to him where I can't look into his eyes. Anyway, that's my problem.
Hold on. Let me. I got something. And I go over to the cabinet, and I grab some Motrin out, and I go to the fridge, and I say, hey, I know you're not feeling good, and I got you that Verner's that you told me to get you. And I mean, originally I got it for me, but I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't I didn't expect to lose control again, and I'm so sorry. I would never hurt you. I hope you know that.
Yeah, I do. How are you feeling this morning? You
Well,
had a pretty rough night.
yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, I'm gonna try to do what you told me to, and take a deep breath and relax. But Dad's taking me to the lab today, and I don't know what to expect there. And obviously, I'm gonna be alone with him again. So I'm not looking forward to that, obviously. But I don't know. It's
Listen, if he's taking you to the lab, he's going to be too busy kissing that Raven woman's ass and showing off for all the soldiers with guns that he gets to command. I hate to say it, but he's probably not going to be paying as much attention to you, and maybe that's
like
for the
he
best.
ever does. The only time he ever gives me any kind of attention is when he's being an asshole.
Oh. Every time you say something like that, you see him kind of wince a little bit and kind of nervously glance around like...
I'll... When I get back, I can take it back if you want me to. I don't want you to be hurt. I can take it back.
He kind of reaches up to where you can see there's a bandage on his forehead where the cut appeared. No, I've had my share of bangs and cuts and bruises. This is nothing. A little bit of Neosporin in a day or two and you won't notice it. It'll be fine. Listen. Just go along with him. Do what he tells you. Keep your eyes and ears peeled. I've never been to this lab. I've heard some things about it from the Staplers, the good old Reginald Hawthorne Stapler, great grandpappy of the Stapler fortune, was one of the chief financiers of the labs when they built it. The labs have only been in Paradise for 5 or 6 years. Reginald Hawthorne Stapler's been dead for, well, a great many years longer than that. So how he financed a secret lab under this town, I don't know. It's just one of the mysteries. But with that, you hear the bathroom door close down the hall, indicating that your father has finished getting ready for the morning with what he affectionately refers to in the military fashion as his shit, shower, and shave routine. And
somehow takes him like 3 minutes tops.
Oh yeah,
for all
which
three
is a new
total.
record.
The secret is to do them all at once. Don't think about that too hard. You hear the footsteps coming down the hall, realizing that in any second your father's going to be in the kitchen with you. And what
Oh, go ahead.
What you see come around the corner is your father dressed in black slacks, a white dress shirt, and a black sport coat, no tie.
Ooh.
He's not wearing his uniform.
I look at him very confused.
He doesn't bother to say good morning to either of you. No uniform today. Dress smart, but still try to look like a teenager.
So No tie?
No tie. Where
Oh, look very confused. Okay.
where are those
Jeans?
well, let's not be ridiculous.
Sorry.
Don't get out of hand.
And then he does something that you don't hear your father do very often, but he kind of laughs. He goes, I don't care. Wear jeans. Wear those
Levi.
what are they called? Charles Taylor, whatever tennis shoes that your mom got you a couple years ago.
Charles Taylors. That's where your Charles is,
Look.
son.
Look like you're a kid. We want to keep the profile a little low. Miss Raven does not want to draw any attention with military uniforms walking in.
Okay.
So we'll keep it low key. It's a Saturday, so there shouldn't be too many eyes. But hey. And he walks over to the table, and you see now that he's holding in his hand a stack of manila folders. He goes and sits down at the table, and we can't help but notice that Carson almost instinctively sits up a little bit taller as your father sits down, and he pours himself a cup of black coffee. You guys did good last night. Whatever you did to cause the distraction had not quite what I was expecting. It seemed to have some kind of a domino effect, and I don't know how it led to that Eccles kid doing what he did, but it did exactly what I needed. Needed all eyes outside for a few minutes. And you, and he points at Carson. Carson almost jumps. Good intel. Even though it was over a decade old. Combination. Still good. And the safe? Big antique beast right under the stairs where you said it was.
Oh.
And he kind of thumps the stack of papers.
Ah.
He goes, and hey, whatever it was that led to that Eccles kid doing what he did, doing me a favor, all right? That's one less bloodsucker I've got to eliminate. Do you say anything to your father at this point?
I go, well, I better go get those jeans on. And I'll be standing in like the doorway, and I'll be father will be looking away, so I'm looking at Carson, and I just smile at him, and I kind of just like tap the door frame, and exit the room.
As you do that, you exit the room. You hear the sound of your father's chair scrape across the linoleum. And you hear his footsteps as he follows you to your room.
Okay,
As you go to close the door to your room, it doesn't close. You turn and see the lieutenant commander standing there, blocking the door from closing, and pushes it back open again. He doesn't say a word, he's just staring at you.
Did you change your mind about the clothes?
No. You're gonna wear civvies today.
Okay.
He takes a step closer. Carson, was your responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Last night, you were supposed to ensure that he caused a distraction.
You said that we did good.
You stumbled your way into a positive solution. But when we do take a little after action review here, you very clearly were not up to the task of handling the responsibility. Whatever it was you told Carson to do, he did not follow your orders. Or maybe the orders you gave him weren't any good.
But the mission was accomplished, though, sir.
The words are barely out of your mouth, and you feel the sting of the back of his hand across your face.
Damn it. What a
Hard.
What a dick.
The mission.
Tear unforced tear just rolls down my eye. I'm out of my eye, down my cheek.
The mission was a success because I made the best of your cock up. That could have really screwed us all. I knew you weren't ready for this. He points over to where your uniform is neatly hanging on a hanger, on one of those things that goes over the closet door so it kind of hangs flat against the front. That uniform may be an ROTC uniform, but it still represents the Coast Guard and the United States military. Do you think it is a joke? Do you think that I've spent the last 20 years perfecting some grand comedy routine?
No, sir.
Speak up.
No, sir.
If you want to wear the real deal and you want to serve in the real military, you're going to have to do a lot better than last night.
Yes, sir.
You got lucky. And it was only because of my resourcefulness and my ability to seize the opportunity that the mission was a success. Do not let my success be something you try to pin in your chest.
Yes, sir.
He glances at his watch. You've got 5 minutes. You get cleaned, get dressed, get out in the car. He turns around, pretty much does an about face, and walks out of the room.
Wow, what a dick.
I'll grab the door handle and it'll just almost slow motion close very slowly until you hear it click.
As the lieutenant commander walks back to the kitchen, Carson is nowhere to be found. Carson took the opportunity to GTFO.
Oh.
The lieutenant commander walks over to where the stack of folders are, and he picks up his coffee, and he takes a sip, and as he flips through first one, flips it over, opens another one, just kind of casually looking at him for a minute. And we see as he does this, we see a picture of Rosie in a file on Rosie Gunnarsson. We see a file. It also has, in a couple of the pages, we see Rosie's parents. We see Laz Eccles, and we see his parents. We see The last one we see is labeled Smith, and we see just real quick, in quick flashes, notes under the parents for twins. And then there's something about a payout of $250,000, and then it's modified to $500,000.
Oh.
But then the line has a strike through and initials next to it. 500,000 has been crossed out, and 250,000 has been rewritten and reinitialed. And the words only one fetus viable was written. And that's one of the last things we see as he closes them up. Takes a sip of his coffee, and while you're finishing getting ready, TJ, he walks into his den. And in this den, we see rather than an ornate wooden desk, we see what looks like a metal government issue style desk sitting in the room facing the door. There's one whole wall that is wooden cabinets and shelves that's filled with paraphernalia from the Korean War, the Vietnam War, World War II. On another wall, there's trophies of deer, antelope, boar. There's a gun cabinet, and it's this gun cabinet that he walks to, and he turns a combination and opens it, and he places the folders inside. But as he tucks them in, we see that inside this locked gun cabinet, on one side there's a couple of rifles and shotguns. Up near the top there's a Luger pistol, there's a .45. But we also see off on the other side there's a crossbow. Along the back wall there are wooden stakes. There's holy symbols. There's a sword in a scabbard. Basically there are monster hunting weapons in this case. As he locks it, and as he turns around, we sort of see this view of him looking towards camera across the room at all of where the military paraphernalia is. And as the camera flips, we realize, or as the scene flips, we realize it's not that we're seeing a camera angle, we're seeing him reflected in the glass. And as it shifts, we see in the center, very small in comparison to everything else, but there is a Nazi flag in the middle of his display of World War II paraphernalia.
Oh my god, what an asshole this is. Oh.
With that,
wow.
we are going to, the camera's going to sort of shift downward, and it's just going to keep going down. Until we hit fluorescent lighting, and it starts to slow as it goes past level after level. And we realize as the camera settles at the end of a hallway lined with green doors with brass handles, we are in the Nexus Project's laboratories. And the camera barely comes to a stop, and it starts moving forward past all of these doors. Goes around a corner, goes around has anybody here seen dang it, the name of the thing, I just lost the name of it. It was Adam Scott. It was on Apple TV. It was the series where they worked in this weird sparse office. I'm the only one that saw it. This would be a great reference if anybody else saw it.
I know the show you're talking about.
I cannot think of what it's called, but anyway, they work in these mysterious offices where there's these corridors, and they seem to know where they're going, but they take random turns. The hallways don't even always line up. Sometimes it's like you walk, then you take a curve, and you walk some more. And the camera seems to be doing that. Just going around all these random curves or corners and stuff. No change. It's all green doors and brass handles. No other signs of anything until it stops suddenly at a door. And it seems to hesitate for a moment. I'm going to roll a die because we are playing a game. There should be some dice rolls. Even it's Rosie, odds it's Laz. It's a 6. The camera pushes through and we just see green for a moment, and then we see an all-white room. The floors, the walls, and the ceiling are all padded. There's a table along one wall. There is a desk affixed to the middle of the room. Bed, everything is covered in a foam rubber like padding. Lying on the bed, which as we get closer we see is more like a hospital bed. There are a couple machines hooked up to Rosie. There's an IV drip. All of Rosie's bones have healed themselves overnight. In fact, Rosie, before you even arrived at the labs, which you only knew when the van stopped moving, all of your bones had healed back together, but something was still wrong internally. You are beyond being wheeled in and seeing lights sort of... Somebody injected something into you, a mask was put over your face, and you lost consciousness. Now, you are coming to. You have the grogginess of waking from anesthesia. You feel nauseous. But mostly you feel okay. What do you do?
I think the very first thing Rosie would do is kind of like pretty quickly try to sit up. Just kind of like trying to figure out where she is. She doesn't remember right this second, like right when she wakes up, she doesn't exactly remember everything from the night before, but it's kind of coming back to her.
As you start to sit up or try to sit up, you realize you're restrained.
I think Rosie kind of panics a little bit, and I think she kind of like really tries like several times, like slams up against these restraints and like pulls as hard as she can. And
it takes a moment, because panic starts to take over. Believe me, I would react exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize the restraints, there's one going across your chest, one across your waist, your upper legs, your arms are sort of restrained down. You realize, though, you're not chained or locked or anything. They look to be Velcro straps. Okay. And the one strap on your right arm, the excess part seems to be hanging down. With a little bit of finagling, you can get hold of it and sort of...
Oh.
It takes some finagling, but you're able to get yourself out of these restraints.
Okay. So I do. Is there any... You said, is there an IV in me?
Mm-hmm.
I fucking take it out. a little freaky, but Rosie knows she'll heal fast. Rosie smashes whatever the fuck is making that noise.
It's one of the medical machines starts beeping as you remove some of the wires and IV. What do you smash it with? Do you just knock it over?
I knock it over. I kind of, yeah, like I knock it over and I kind of throw it as yeah. And Rosie's like looking around this room. About how big is this room?
About 20 feet square.
Okay. I guess she would kind of immediately go to the door and just, maybe it's fucking open. Like, I don't. She just tries the door.
The door's locked.
Damn it. She kind of like kicks the door and grumbles to herself, like, "Fucking, of course it's locked." And she just kind of like she kind of like jumps at this voice.
Rosie, settle down. You're not going to do anybody any good breaking your leg trying to kick that door down. You're just going to cause yourself
break my
pain.
leg?
You're going to cause yourself unnecessary pain. And the door is still not going to come down.
And Rosie would like start be like, where am I? Who are you? What is this?
You know where you are. Let's not pretend that you don't know exactly where you are.
And I imagine that up until then, Rosie like genuinely didn't remember exactly. And then right when you know where you are, it dawns on her where she is. And she just starts like, let me out. Let me out now.
I think you're operating under the misconception that you are in charge here, Rosie. You are not. But somebody who is in charge will be along soon. They will talk to you, and they will explain to you what your situation is. In the meantime, those machines are very expensive.
Oh, they are. And Rosie breaks another one if there's another one there, and she just fucking starts throwing shit and smash it. Like, I imagine it's kind of like very sudden and angry, and you can't see it unless you're up close, but Rosie's like crying a little bit as she's just fucking going full on chaos mode.
The voice waits until you've broken pretty much everything that can be broken. Do you have that out of your system now?
That depends. Is that door unlocked yet?
Every time you break stuff like that, it's your parents and your friends' parents and the people of Paradise whose tax money has to pay for those.
I don't give a shit. I'm 14. I don't pay taxes.
Fiduciary responsibility is clearly not the right tact with a 14-year-old. Forgive me, I don't have any children.
That's Carrie, not Rosie. Rosie's pissed. Carrie thinks this is hilarious. Oh my god. Anyway, but Rosie is just like, her fists are clenched, and she's just like essentially like standing in the middle of this room now, just like heaving.
Your blood pressure is high. Calm yourself down. I don't say that in the manner of just calm down because you're being obnoxious, but you sustained an incredible amount of internal injuries last night. If not for our surgical intervention, you might not be here. Your ability to heal broken bones and torn skin notwithstanding, your healing abilities seem to, well, reach their limit when it comes to the arrangement of your internal organs.
Where's Laz?
Laz is being taken care of in a room not too far away, and hopefully he's being less destructive.
And Rosie kind of does like just look around at the chaos, the destruction she's caused, and just kind of like she just like feels helpless. And she looks down, and there is a little blood from where she took the IV out, and just like she just kind of stands there.
Have a glass of juice and a chocolate chip cookie. I find that always makes me feel better. You hear the sound of like a pneumatic as the surface of the desk, a little section of it sort of drops down. You hear this pneumatic sound, and as it raises back up, there is a single 8-ounce glass of orange juice and a large, like 8-inch chocolate chip cookie sitting on a plate.
Rosie goes over and takes the juice, and like she smells it first. Like she doesn't like trust any of this. Does it just smell like normal juice?
It smells like orange juice. The glass is cold. You can see condensation already forming on it.
Rosie kind of looks up at the like ceiling. She doesn't know where this voice is coming from, but she's just like, "Who are you?"
I am the one who is tasked with watching you right now. That's all you need to know.
Does this voice sound familiar at all, or not really?
It doesn't.
Rosie she takes the juice, she doesn't take the cookie, and she goes and she sits in the like one of the corners that is opposite from the door, and she just kind of sits there, and she's just sort of staring at the door. And she has her little juice, but she just like isn't taking her eyes off of the door.
Roll me a D100, please.
You said it in the narrator voice.
Okay.
Yes.
A pair of dice. D100. What the hell is
There's
that?
a pneumatic sound, and a pair of dice show up next to the orange juice and the cookie.
Great.
Weirdly, the dice say nerdarchy on them.
This becomes a whole Saw episode of like how do you escape the padded room.
Let me just say, you guys are lucky. I've never seen a single Saw movie.
Oh God, 52.
As you are curiously inspecting these things, you hear just a tiny little bit of this sort of... There's a squelching sound that I know will get gated if I try to make a noise like that. And then the voice is the same, but it seems to be coming through almost like it's coming through a like a transistor radio. Something has changed. You can hear me, Rosie. Yes?
And I think Rosie like starts again a little bit, and she spills a little bit of her orange juice. And she's like, "Oh Jesus, another one."
And it's the same person.
The
voice is just slightly different.
Oh God.
Like something has... I only have a moment.
Rosie
Listen
rolls
carefully.
her eyes. She's like, "Shit, yes, I can still hear you."
Listen carefully. I only have a moment. Just do what they say. Keep your eyes open. Smile, nod, agree. Do whatever you have to. But watch for your opportunity. Don't take the first one that comes. Your juice is going to get warm if you leave it sit there.
Rosie's eyes are wide, and she just like, she nods, and she takes the juice, and she just like chugs it. And then she fucking throws it against one of these padded walls, and I imagine she throws it hard enough that even though it's padded, it shatters.
Oh no. You're going to roll for that.
Oh, come on.
I'm not going to give
She's
you
a
that.
pitcher. Okay,
I'm not going to give you that.
Okay, what do I?
We're gonna have you roll a. We're gonna have you roll your brawn since we're seeing how tough you are here.
Okay.
I know you get high brawn.
That's fine. I do. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Hey, I got a 15.
Okay. I wanted you to roll low just so it would bounce off and hit you.
Doing.
All right, so yes, it does break. And as that happens, sort of as you throw the glass, the camera follows it. We hear the sound of breaking glass as the camera continues to move through the wall, across the hall,
Perfect.
and into another room. In this room, similar, there are padded walls, floors, ceiling. But seated in the middle of the room, not trying to describe this in the way that I'm picturing it. Laz, you are not. It looks momentarily like you are seated with your arms crossed, almost like you might be in some kind of a straitjacket. But you're not. But attached to your wrists in padded leather bindings, to your ankles, around your waist, there's a couple connections. You are attached by essentially bungee cords to anchors in different parts of the room. Any attempt you make to move in any direction, you have resistance. These have enough tension on them that moving causes you to have to pull against them a little bit. There's no way you seem to be able to move that as you try to put slack into one set of bands, it's countered by another set of bands that are putting tension on. You can roll a brains check if you want to try to suss out what's going on here. Or you can use your own brain if you think you know what's going on.
Laz's brains are probably a little bit better than mine. So I'm going to go with a roll from him. That's a 6. It's healthy.
Okay, it's a tiered success. You're not entirely sure what's going on with that 6. It's weird. There's no medical equipment in here. But there are 4 cameras mounted up near the ceiling. Every one of them pointed at you. What are you doing?
Kind of adjusts himself again, you know, for like the umpteenth times as he's been bound up this way. He kind of throws like a glower at one of the cameras. Fucking enjoying the show. Fucking creeps.
There's no response.
He kind of looks around the room again, trying to study like what else is in the room with him, particularly anything that might be. I know within reach is kind of a vague term at this point, but basically just whatever might be close.
There is nothing else in this room with you.
Okay. He's gonna look at the point where these bungee cords actually attach to these cuffs. See if there's anything that he can discern about that point.
I don't know anything about how this kind of thing would actually be done, so I'm going to describe it the way I think makes sense. These are cuffs that the leather seems to wrap around some kind of metal that the leather and the padding are keeping the metal obviously from being painful, but the metal kind of comes up into this sort of like double like U shape. And these cords seem to move through into a complex sort of knot. And they have where they come through and the cord reconnects. There's one of those bands that kind of a metal band that's like crimped across it. So they're pretty securely connected at each connection point. you have a belt very much like this that is around your waist as well.
And every move he has basically has like an equal and opposite like reaction, like it you know, moving on this
so
side.
far as you've been doing it, you can attempt, since you are looking more detailed at them, you can make another attempt to figure out what's going on here. I'm going to lower the DC just a little bit. Okay. Since you're taking your time to sort of study all of this.
Okay.
Remember, you also have your gold star. You want to?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I forgot to
Is it
remind you about
+2?
gold stars, but gold star, yeah, it gives you an automatic. What is it? An automatic.
+2.
An automatic +2.
Hell yeah. I will throw my gold star on there, making it a 9 total.
Nice.
The more you play around with these, you realize that there doesn't seem to be any movement you can make in any direction that allows you to build up any energy or speed. This complex contraption seems specifically to be designed to prevent you from building any kind of kinetic energy.
Wow.
Somebody's got your number. Somebody has figured out a way. And I'll say with that 9, while these all appear to be pieces of, you know, like nothing's like what's the word I'm looking for? Haphazardly put together. This isn't like slapdash assembly of odd bits and pieces. These look like actual pieces of equipment, but it does have this feel of some scientist got into a room and said, what do we have available that we can use to do this? And somebody went, I've got an idea. What if we tried a bunch of rubber bands? And they basically, it's almost like somebody just came up with this on the fly, imagining what something like this might look like in an imaginary world. As they have attempted to prevent your kinetic buildup of energy.
What am I wearing, and what is the floor where I'm like stuck?
You are stark naked. I'm just kidding.
Yes, the day you were born.
PG-13 rating.
You are wearing white linen pants and basically like scrubs.
Right.
Honestly,
Is that like what I was wearing too?
yes.
Just checking.
Okay. In that case, I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but Laz is going to start like rubbing any part of himself, like his 2 knees or whatever, together to build friction, to build heat.
Oh my god.
And he's going to
Very
just continue
scientific.
to do this.
You're doing what now? Rubbing your knees together?
Any
To
part of
build
my body
heat
that
friction.
I'm
So-
absorbing or attempting to absorb heat.
Almost basically taking up
Even
the
just-
position you were in. You were
Yeah.
sort of kind of in a cross-legged, folded over position. Going back to that original position, you're able to do that. I'm going to roll something real quick here. Nobody seems to realize what you're doing because there does not seem to be any intervention So we're gonna leave this room for a minute while you rub this out.
Wow.
Is that not what you're doing?
Well done.
I mean, here I am, just tied up and on camera. You know,
Somebody leans forward in an observation room and they tap the little camera. I'm not logging this. It looks like he's yanking one out.
Hey, you stop that! Stop it!
I mean,
I'm gonna turn the
teenage boy.
I'm gonna make this blurry.
You're making this illegal. Stop.
I'm taking my lunch break.
Yellow light. As Rosie,
Yo.
you hear a key in the lock of the door to your room.
Rosie stands up. She's still in this corner, kind of like keeping vigil, and ever since the keep your eyes open, she's almost been like obsessively keeping her eyes open and like watching this door. And so she sort of like stands up. She's like fucking ready to spring.
When the door opens, Cherry Gunnarsson walks into the room. She takes about 4 or 5 quick steps towards you and then sort of hesitates, kind of like she was going to come running to hug you, and she looks around the room and she's like, oh my god, are you okay? Did you do this? What? Are you okay? And she takes another hesitant step forward. You can see her looking at you.
I think Rosie, at first she's like kind of suspicious, and then but like, does this woman look like genuinely concerned, like worried and motherly?
Yeah, she looks a little scared of you, to be honest. That's what seems to be the hesitation, seeing that you're kind of in the midst of all this destruction that you have wrought.
I think as she gets closer, she takes 2 steps closer, and she just like kind of almost like collapses into her mom's arms, and she just like, she's still a kid and she's nervous, and this is all, she's like, we gotta go, you gotta take me out of here.
She fully embraces you, and she's kind of holding you to her, and she's stroking your hair. I know, it's okay, baby, it's gonna be okay, just calm down. And she's stroking your hair and kind of just holding you. And she says, it's gonna be okay. We just gotta answer, you've gotta answer a few questions first.
And Rosie kind of like pulls back.
And as you do so, you see walking in the door, Ashley Raven. Aside from her clothes and her hairstyle, looking exactly like Sherry Gunnarsson.
So, okay, Rosie does not remember. That's funny, Craig. Rosie does not remember the events of that night where she saw the 3 of them in the kitchen, right? Like, where she saw Persephone and Ashley and Sherry all in the same place. She doesn't really remember that, correct?
No, you did not remember that.
So as soon as she sees Ashley come in, she kind of like pulls back a little bit and looks at her mom and like backs up a couple steps. She's like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And she remembers that she did TP the house, but this seems like a little bit of an overreaction for that. And so she kind of like looks, she's like, I didn't do it. Mom, we don't have to do anything. Tell her, you can just take me out. You can like probably like sign a paper or something and just take me home, right?
Ashley reaches into the pocket of her blazer, and she pulls out what looks like, well, for 1985, this is incredibly anachronistic. But we, the viewer, will recognize exactly what she's holding in her hand. For all intents and purposes, she's holding what looks like a smart tablet or smartphone. It's what you see is a black piece of glass and metal that when she holds in her hand, she starts tapping on the glass, and you see, like in a science fiction movie, you see colors and shapes and then words, and she starts sliding her finger and making motions as they change. And she holds it out to you like this. And you see video footage of you finding the package in your mom's desk with the hand in it. It shifts. She taps the screen again, and there's more footage that seems to be taken from an interior security camera in your own home. This you don't have memory of, but it's you rifling through the purse and pulling out a floppy disk. Ashley taps the screen and pulls it aside and just kind of raises an eyebrow as if to say, well?
Rosie backs up again. She pulls away from her mother. This is all like sent her kind of reeling. She kind of backs up back into that corner where she was before. And she just kind of like looks. She just stares at this woman. And she's kind of like, she shoots one more like sympathetic look at her mom, and then she kind of like just glares at this bitch. CEO looking bitch.
You have no memory of speaking with us together around the kitchen table, do you? This is Ashley.
Yeah. Rosie just kind of like shakes her head.
As far as you know, this is the first you've seen us together.
Yeah. Has this happened before? Like, do I know this already or something?
You and your friends seem to be struggling with memory connections between the iterations. You're struggling to discern what is real and what is not. Your brain is trying to fill in the blanks. Some of you are accepting things as fact that are fiction, and as fiction things that are fact, and your brain's inventing things in between. And I'll admit, things have gotten a little out of control. So that's not entirely your fault. We are not suppressing your memories. I want you to know that.
Then why don't I remember it?
That's something you're going to have to figure out for yourself, Rosie. You are suppressing your own memories. There's something you don't want to remember? There's some reason that you don't want to accept the reality of your situation?
And Rosie kind of like really searches her memories like hard, if that's possible, and tries to think about what this might be.
Let me ask you a less ambiguous question. Let me go to the basics, if you'll allow me. She walks over to this padded desk and... Did you ever actually eat the cookie?
I never ate the cookie.
Cookies
don't go with orange juice. Am I the only one thinking this?
Have you never given blood?
Yeah, no, I've given plasma.
Listen,
and if you give plasma, you can't give blood. I get money for that.
It's blood.
Not
It's
cookies.
OJ and cracker. OJ and crackers? Cool. OJ and cookies?
No.
I've had
Cookies
OJ and
milk.
cookies every time I've given
Cookies
blood.
and milk. Anyway,
Anyway,
but,
this isn't Saturday morning cartoons, cookies and milk. This is waking up in a weird medical facility below ground.
did
orange
not even
juice
think
and
about
cookie.
that. I imagine
Anyway.
Ashley sits down and Rosie kind of like goes to the other corner of the room because she just like wants to be like opposite her.
She just kind of casually reaches over, just glancing at it, reaches over and snaps a little piece of the cookie off and starts to take a bite, but then stops. She glances over at Sherry. Who's your mother, Rosie? Then she takes a bite.
And she kind of like, Rosie kind of like looks confused for a second and she's like, right there.
Then who am I?
I don't fucking know who you are.
Both of them simultaneously go, language?
I don't know who you are. Are you like a cousin or something that I didn't know about?
You're doing it again. You're obfuscating facts from yourself.
All of a sudden, Rosie, like, again, veto this if it's not the vision. Rosie kind of like looks confused. And she kind of like shakes her head almost like something's been like flashed in front of her. And then she kind of like looks and she's like, I don't have one. I don't have a mom. But and Rosie kind of like looks confused then at Sherry and then like looks back at Ashley and is just kind of wrestling with this, like being put like under such a microscope.
Sherry looks almost wounded when you say that.
Yeah.
And suddenly, as if a director somewhere called cut and the scene ended, the anger disappears, or the hurt disappears, and she looks over at I can't keep them straight. She looks over at Ashley and she says, "Oh." She got to that conclusion a lot quicker than I expected, and before any of the others. I would have thought Oak would have figured that out before any of them. What made you come to this realization, Rosie?
And I imagine Rosie kind of like slides down the wall and she's sitting almost like a catcher now. And she just kind of like is thinking. And she just says like, I think I just kind of like always knew it. But I always knew that she was my mom too. I don't understand. I don't understand any of this.
Well, it's true. You don't technically have a mother. You were carried to term inside for 9 months, and you were birthed. But it was neither of us. And Ashley reaches down to where she'd set down this glass device, and she taps a couple buttons, and she holds the screen up to you. And you see, in a room not at all dissimilar to what you're in now, you see Persephone. This looks like the very purpose of what a padded room is for. Persephone is wild-eyed, wild-haired. she is continuously like a caged animal moving around in this space, trying to break free, pacing. And every once in a while, she'll glance up at where the camera is.
That can't be.
She is. She's the original. Persephone is the one who made the decision to enter the jealous mirror. But she couldn't handle it. Fractured her mind. And that's where we came from. Oh, I'm sorry.
The jealous mirror. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Did you think that you and your friends were the only ones around here with special abilities?
Yeah, I kind of did. My God, stop, guys. You should fucking spawn in, and it's not gonna be good.
I'm realizing that I don't think Anne or Jessica mentioned the jealous mirror to anybody.
Rosie is
So,
reeling.
and actually, it
None
was
of
in
this
the
makes sense.
vision was when she first heard about it. So I don't think you've never heard the term
No.
the jealous mirror.
I do not know what this
So
is.
yes, this is information she's not explaining to you, but she says this is. She tells you this information. She says there's a good chance that you're going to forget this because your mind keeps trying to protect you. Or you just can't handle the truth, whatever the case may be. You and your friends, you all belong to the Nexus Project. We haven't kidnapped you. I'm going to bring you here for some nefarious plans to steal you from your parents. The Nexus Project is you. Each and every one of you. She wasn't paid $250,000 to buy you. She was paid $250,000 to be a surrogate for you.
And Rosie just kind of like, she like kind of rests up against this wall, and she just kind of like looks heartbroken.
This time, as she's talking, the scenes are going to shift a little bit. As she says, the Nexus Project was originally conceived by Reginald Hawthorne Stapler. It was he who provided the funding for all of this to take place in the first place.
Nice.
Everything that you've been going through has been a part of the project. But you all have been left to do what you will. React according to however you see fit. We wanted children from all different ages to see how they would respond to the environments, to, well, the kind of things that you've been witness to. But somehow you all seem to constantly push against the constraints of the experiment, doing wildly unimaginable things. At this point, we're seeing Laz, and all of the hairs are standing up on your arms and the back of your neck. And some of the hairs on your head are even rising a little bit as you've built up a fair amount of kinetic energy over the last several minutes. Some of you we could not have foreseen, and we still are trying to figure out the anomalies, or why you became the anomalies that you are. And at this we see Oak sitting at that dining table, having breakfast with Billy Stapler, while in the other room, Algernon gleefully disposes of a captured rat and resets a new rat trap. Some of you, we believe, may be manifesting into these iterations through some external force, and the camera seems to linger momentarily on Billy Stapler. Some of you, as near as we can tell, because of your pushing against the constraints of the experiment, you've caused fractures in space-time, fractures in reality. Some of this has bled out into the world and infected others. And we see, as with still a minute to spare, TJ, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, a jacket, a Letterman jacket for Paradise Academy, sneakers, runs and jumps in his dad's truck as they pull out of the driveway at Stone Hill and begin heading down the street. As the camera pans away from that, even though we're not following where they're going, the camera pans up across town and sort of stops with Paradise Orchard Processing Facility in the distance. And then there are some of you who came into this experiment that were already anomalies. They seem to be multiplying and magnifying in ways that we hadn't planned. And for this scene shift, we see pieces, fractured reflective glass, a mirror shattered, pieces spinning as if falling in slow motion. And as each piece turns, sometimes we see Jessica, sometimes we see Anne. Occasionally, or at the end of this scene, we see two large pieces come together, one reflecting half of Anne's face and one reflecting half of Jessica's face, as they seem to sort of cross in front of one another. And for some of you, perhaps all of you, it's as if the experiment itself is a living entity and is exerting its own will. We see now Coop covered in mud, caked drying mud, hair matted to his head. Coop, you are laying down sort of on your side like this, and from behind you we see a hand reach over your shoulder and start shaking you awake.
Ow. Where am I? And I look around.
A finger presses to your lips.
What?
Shh, say no more.
As you glance around, after a moment, the finger removes from your lips, and the hand withdraws. As your severed hand
God!
skitters
I did not
next
see
to
that
you.
coming.
Excellent. I was trying to narrate it in a way that it wasn't obvious.
Ooh.
As your severed hand skitters back a little bit. And then it kind of makes a motion like as if to go. And look back at you.
Coop's looking around. Where the hell am I?
You look around and you are in what looks like the camera starts to...
Oubliette!
God. Oh no.
What?
It is Labyrinth. You're in the oubliette.
You're in the oubliette. Yes. The camera pans back to reveal that you are lying on top of a you are lying on the, rather not the top, the side of a refrigerator that is embedded in mud, that is on top of a larger pile as the camera pans away of old appliances, old rusty cars, bikes, construction materials, debris, as a large chunk of dirt and mud and an old tire falls from several feet above you and goes boom, 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 boom. You are on the other end of a sinkhole that some of the residents of Paradise have apparently been using for years to dispose of unwanted appliances and what have you. But you are also...
That's not ecological.
Well, you are also in this cavern. As you look down from atop your mountain of junk, you see that there is a tunnel that leads away. It's about 30 feet away from you. It is braced with wooden timbers, and there are lit incandescent bulbs lining this that disappear beyond what you can see.
That seems safe. I turn to my hand and I go, should we follow it?
I don't even know what this would look like. As a hand gives you a shrug.
The thumb and pinky would kind of come up. I don't know.
Oh, we can't climb. Coop's just looking up, and I imagine that up is up.
Oh yeah, up is up.
Yeah, and Coop's like, I'm not getting out that way.
Looking around,
there's not much of a choice.
Looking around, you don't see any sign of Anne down here.
Oh, Jacob?
What?
Oh boy, an
Jacob,
idea.
I have an ability called Treasure Hunter.
Oh, really?
Which allows me to find useful things in the area if I spend one token.
Yes.
Okay, you want to spend a token.
And where else to find useful things than in the giant heap of garbage?
Yes. A junk pile.
This is going to be one of the most well-spent tokens, I think. As Coop, you begin clambering down from atop this mountain of junk. And on your way down, I imagine it's, in a way, not too dissimilar to the scene in Labyrinth after she's eaten the rotten peach and can't remember anything. And the trash lady starts saying, oh, you'll want this, and starts handing all kinds of stuff. On your way down, you start to find some useful items. We are going to pan away as you begin looking in the back of cars, finding what looks like an empty trash can, only to open it up and find stuff inside. For some reason, I imagine there's a toolbox that when you open it, it's completely full of tools. I'm going to allow you to choose between now and next week Roll me. I'm gonna roll. You find 4 useful items.
Oh.
I do retain veto right or right to modify.
No genie lamps.
I won't
No, I'm
veto.
kidding.
I won't veto because that's not.
No helicopters, no
Yeah.
Blackhawks. Got it.
I find a key to the
Lightsaber.
Paradise Orchards labs. No, I'm not going to veto, but I do reserve the right, like when you found other stuff before, to modify its use. I may
I'm
ask
gonna put
you.
one rule on it, which is, hey, come on.
I
That's
may
the rule.
ask you to provide a logical reason why something is down there, but I want you to really use your imagination, knowing, of course, the oddities of the world. And I am going to provide you with one useful, unique item.
Ooh,
So for
I'm
you,
into this.
I rolled 1d6 plus 1 and rolled a 3. For me, I rolled 1d4 minus 1, minimum 1. I rolled a 2. So you get to create 4 unique items that you're going to find down there.
Awesome.
And that's sort of where we're ending, is as the camera pans away and we see Coop digging through the detritus of this sinkhole. And I even imagine that as it's panning away, we see your severed hand will hold something out to you, and you maybe go, no, 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 no. And then it just kind of goes and tosses something that goes bing, 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 bing. And that's where we're going to end.
That's awesome. Yay.
This session was 180 degrees different than last week's session. That Tamika was complaining mid-scene kept jumping from person to person to person to person. This went almost exactly... Well, it did, because we started with Coop and we ended with Coop. And we went around to see everybody. This is what I would call sort of a transition episode between arcs. So we've left the whole homecoming arc, 10 days of homecoming, with a little the Witches of November thrown in there as well. Through a couple different avenues, some very big reveals today.
Yeah.
Carrie, you stumbled into something that I was not expecting to be revealed for a while.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, don't ever apologize.
I felt like it was
Jeremy
fine.
full on unleashed lightning in the middle of a party that I wasn't expecting,
That's true.
and
That's
here
true.
we are.
You know
so
what? And I won't
never
apologize then
apologize.
for what I did.
No,
You shouldn't.
never
And you
apologize.
shouldn't.
It just, I wasn't. I had
Oh, and
hinted.
by the way,
I was
real quick,
beginning to hint at it, but yeah, that you just stumbled into that.
I've mentioned in this iteration that like Rosie knows that in the past she didn't have a mom. Like she's said it, like it would be nice to just be here and have a mom. Like she kind of is aware of both truths.
Right, but in the previous iteration, you didn't have a mom because she had passed away.
Because she was dead.
But
That's
what you
true.
just uncovered is you actually don't have a
Actually-
mom.
Well, I do, but
Anymore.
She's in a padded room, and yeah, right. Fucking Laz killed her. Or was
Got a
that video
sunroof.
footage from the past? Is she
Right.
just legit dead from a fireplace poker?
Well, you don't know because you don't know the nature of her
I don't know if
technology.
it's a live feed. And what the fuck is that? Is
There's
that a
only
phone?
so much I'm going to tell you. There were, because of the way the scenes were moving, and we got a little bit of a late start. I think this is another good time to ask each of you to message me with
Homework.
what you would like to do. Knowing where each of you are, what your scenes are. Now, Tamiko already has homework and is preparing to do some spelunking to figure out where in the heck they are. I had honestly forgotten about the D100 roll. and
That was like perfect, though. It's gonna fit
So,
perfectly.
I was able to still work in the hand because I was going to have you reunited with your hand anyway. It was just going to happen at your house. Because you were going to get home, wake up, and find that Templeton and James and the Bulbasaur had a new friend. I forget what you named the Bulbasaur.
Penelope, the
That's
plant, the plant dragon,
The plant dragon, that's right.
plant lizard.
The plant lizard.
Penelope the plant lizard.
So
Of course.
for a minute, I was like, do I hold on to the sinkhole? I'm like, no, I'm just going to roll with it. Sorry, Tamiko, you're falling in a hole at the beginning of the session. I will tell you, because you guys know I like to peel back the curtain once in a while. I briefly considered, and by briefly I mean at least 3 separate times during the session, considered having you make dice rolls to determine if you lived or died.
Whoa.
Thanks, Omi. Good looking out.
Listen, if I'm going to have you...
The glove is off.
If you're going to die, it's going to be because I want to look you in the eye when you're making those rolls, not because you fell through a hole off camera.
Right. And none of that shit is happening with any less than dramatic flair.
But I also wanted, see, now you see, Craig, why I don't answer your questions or tell you exactly where I'm going when you, when you pitch ideas, or I'll mention certain things just to give you a heads up of what to think about. Sometimes when Craig and I go for a walk or we're texting or whatever, I give him a little bit of a heads up of what kind of a scene I'm thinking about, because Craig is still relatively new to this style of gameplay, even though Craig has been playing role-playing games for longer than me. But I've been telling him, I'm not going to tell you that. I can't tell you anymore, because until Craig started playing with us, I used to tell Craig every little secret. Once he was caught up on stuff. But now I have to start withholding information from Craig as well. But Craig didn't know that his dad was going to come in and beat on him. And the last thing I had told him was, your dad's probably going to want you to wear your uniform to the lab. So I had to throw some curves in there. And I'm glad to see that some people were surprised to find out that the distraction was so he could get a hold of some documents from the safe. That the last time we saw those documents go in the safe was in the first iteration, when you guys were experiencing memories at Stapler House. So,
And don't forget the safe blasted Jessica.
The safe, yes. The safe made a reappearance tonight.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I'm working on some stuff in the back of my mind with Anne and Jessica, since M was not with us tonight and will not be with us again next week. That gives me some time to figure that out. But also, if I'm being fully honest, there were a couple things that were revealed tonight that were revealed to me as well. It's the beauty of improv, being able to make stuff up on the fly and kind of go, huh, okay, I guess this is happening. Because you stumbled into a revelation I didn't expect. Maybe not. Sure feels like the early warning signs of a iteration change. What, did I say that out loud? No. Am I just messing with you? Am I bluffing? Maybe. Anyway, this has been Welcome to Paradise, Michigan. This is Season 2, Paradise. Welcome to Paradise Academy, our Kids on Bikes RPG. Thank you all for joining us. As always, man, I wish I could watch the chat. I wish I could chat along with you guys, but I'm kind of making stuff up, pulling story out of my butt. So a little occupied, but great seeing chat flowing along. I love seeing people interacting there. Thank you to the subs and resubs and gifted subs and bits and all that stuff as usual. We appreciate that. Thank you to Miko for making sure I accounted for those. As always, if you're somebody that likes to lurk quietly in the background, or you're watching with us later in the VOD, know that we appreciate you and hope you enjoy our shows and presentation. I believe somebody I saw at one point, but if not, could somebody drop the Discord link? We have a wonderful Discord community. We'd love to see you there. If you aren't already there. Yeah, I think, of course, I say it all the time. The fact that some of these players, they know the way the camera moves and the spotlight moves, that sometimes you come to a session and you sit there for almost the whole session, but you get the bookend. But you also get to watch as other people's stories are unfolding. That's one of the many, many, many reasons why I love playing with this group. Our guest, Craig included, is everybody understands the need to move the spotlight around and focus on different parts of the story, and know that eventually you'll be in the spotlight, and maybe at some point we'll get all you kids back in the there's no peril.
Yeah.
See.
It could happen.
Maybe we'll go to school again eventually.
Yeah, maybe it is Saturday.
Maybe.
Who knows how long this Saturday is going to last?
Correct. Saturday is going to be another 5 months.
Days.
So
The 2-year weekend.
with that, as always, a huge thank you to these amazing players and friends. Thank you, Chad, Tamiko, Carrie, Ted, Jeremy, Craig, and though they weren't here tonight, they were with us in spirit, M, without whom this would just be myself talking to... I did it again. This would just be myself talking to myself.
Talking to myself.
For a couple hours. With that, we're going to end this stream the same way we end every stream. You can say it with me if you want.